right, I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Planning Commission meeting of July 22nd, 2026 at 7:02 p.m. Let's stand for the pledge. All right, Mr. Trombley, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dersch.
Present.
Mr. Bushman.
Here.
Mr. Lake.
Here.
Mr. Montroy.
Here.
Trombley is here, and Mr. Andrews.
Here. You're the hot mic. All right, item number 4, approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. We approve the agenda tonight as presented.
Support.
Supported. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, agenda approved. Item number 5, approval of the minutes of the July 8th meeting.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes of the July 8, 2026 meeting as submitted.
Support.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes approved. All right, moving on to item number 6, public comment. Just a reminder to the public, tonight we do have a public hearing. That's going to be agenda item number 7A. So if you have anything you'd like to talk about that's related to other agenda items, not 7A, now would be the time to speak. If you'd like to speak to item 7A, you'll have the opportunity to do that in a few minutes. Okay, seeing none from the public, we'll move on to item number 7, new business 7A. The public hearing regarding the request for preliminary approval for a 71 planned unit development for Raving View Estates on parcel number 5802-104-023-07 located on the south side of Smith Road, west of Summerfield Road. Jody, could you read the analysis for this agenda item, please? Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. The applicant is Tamaron Properties, LLC, 2798 Bendigo Lane, Lambertville. Contact Decker Building Company. Location is the south side of Smith Road, west of Summerfield. Vacant parcel 5802-104-02307, R2A single family residential. The subject parcel is currently R2A single family residentially zoned and located on the south side of Smith Road, west of Summerfield Road, a portion of the former Tamaron Country Club golf course. The parcel is approximately 48.29 acres, where 23.785 acres are being proposed for a 71-unit planned unit development project. The project has 351.57 feet of frontage on Smith Road. The proposed development shows one ingress-egress from Smith Road, where there is no connection to the west of Carissa Brook, located within Smith Centennial Village subdivision. The PUD will be constructed in a single phase with a total of 71 single-family building sites. While the township can request up to a 100-foot setback for PUD developments, by ordinance, the developers are requesting a 35-foot perimeter setback, common open space, and it has been the practice in the past that the setback has been relaxed when a residential PUD is adjacent to the residential zoning districts. As noted on the plan, the entrance sign will conform with the Bedford Township zoning ordinance not to exceed 4 feet in height and 10 feet in width, with a low voltage exterior lighting proposed. The properties to the north, west, and east are R2A single-family residential, and south is the Michigan-Ohio border, where the remaining Tamaron golf course is located. Utilities, municipal water and sanitary sewer service will be available to the site, and the roads are private and will be built to Monroe County Road Commission standards. The private paved road, as shown, 27-foot back-to-back curb. All storm drainage is private and will be designed and built to public standards. Any preliminary PUD approval shall be contingent upon addressing all issues and obtaining approval from the reviewing agencies, including the Monroe County Drain Commission, 3/24/26, the Monroe County Road Commission Traffic Impact Study, emailed 7/13/26, Manikin Smith Group 4/17/26, and the Bedford Township Fire Department 3/26/26 review letters. Prior to any final PUD consideration, the applicant shall prepare a PUD agreement and all the necessary condominium documents that shall be submitted and approved by the township attorney. A special assessment district for the street lighting shall be entered into between the township and the developer, and all color scheme, building materials, and building renderings shall be submitted. A landscaping and buffering plan shall be submitted, and it should be also noted that a condominium association shall be established.
Thanks. Jody, anything else you want to cover before we get into bringing the applicant up?
Did you open the public hearing yet?
Not yet.
You did?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. That's it for now. And then I'll please refer, I do have a couple inputs regarding the public hearing once you open it.
Okay, I was going to bring up the applicant just to inform them they're one member short tonight. Is a representative from the applicant present tonight? Would you like to step forward to the podium? I just have to advise you we're one member short tonight,
Yes.
and I just want to make sure you're
Yeah,
willing
we're
to
comfortable with
proceed.
that so far.
Okay. Anything that maybe Jody missed or you wanted to cover now?
No, I'd just like to say that, you know, we've spent a lot of time getting to this point. I feel we've addressed a lot of concerns that, you know, we have with the Bedford Township ordinances, Monroe County Road Commission, Monroe County Drain Commission, and the Fire Department. We're looking to put a subdivision in here that's going to be kind of like a mixed-use subdivision where we're going to have multiple price point homes, so we can help supply the community with additional home sites in multiple ranges of price. And we've got a big area in the back that's set aside as open space. And we know there's, you know, pretty stuff back there. There's an eagle's nest back there. And we've been in contact with some of our representatives, and I think you might have a late addition. We had a guy locate exactly where that eagle's nest is, and most of our impacts will be well out of the range. We very seldom get into the 660 and into the 330 range. So I don't know that we'd have to get a permit from the Fish and Game, but we're well aware of the eagle's nest and its location back there.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll open it up for the public to speak, and then we'll bring you back up for
Okay.
commission comment. That works. Thank you. Jody, you said you had a few things to cover before we open the public hearing?
No, I'd like you to open the public hearing first, and then I have a couple comments from emails that I had received.
All right. Looking for a motion to open the public hearing for item 7A.
I'll make a motion, we open the public hearing for item 7A.
Support?
All those in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Public hearing is open. It is 7:10 p.m. Members of the public, if you'd like to speak to this issue, you have 5 minutes each. I think 5 minutes for public hearing.
5 minutes for a public
5
hearing.
minutes each.
I will start off by saying that I'm not sure if Mr. Althouse is here tonight. We did receive a couple emails from Mr. Althouse, and he can speak on them, and I know I did provide them in your packet. I also did receive an email that was provided to you tonight from Ms. Keene. Mr. Chair, if you'd like me to read it for the record, or do you want me to, the board, all the members have received it, but if you want me to read it for the public?
If you could read it for the public, and then Mr. Althouse, if you want to speak, you can maybe speak, but if you could read Ms. Keene's, I don't think she's present tonight, so.
Okay,
Cody's going to read Ms. Keene's, and then, yeah, you're welcome to come up after that, if that works.
This is from Ms. Keene.
Okay.
I apologize for not being able to attend in person. I do, however, want to make comments to the project slated for, she wrote Stearns, but she meant Smith and Summerfield, just for clarification. Sadly, this one pristine and beautiful piece of property, regardless of the plan, will be desecrated by urban sprawl development. I know people have the right to do with their property as long as it fits in the zoning. Just once, I would love to hear a developer, and don't care if it's a Decker, a Bankowski, or some other, say, given all the profit I've made off other developments I have in hand, I'm going to donate this property to the county, to the township, to the residents of this township as a dedicated green space. I know enough of all of this. I would not hold my breath waiting for this to ever happen. However, what I can do is keep trying to ensure that what is destruction they can do to bring to the property is acceptable. Knowing this, but not as a concept, and the first of what will be 2 public hearings if it gets passed. One concern, the ingress egress, would be nice if the drive could be where a traffic light exists at Summerfield. No, that is impossible to other homes. Any of the traffic existing and heading east will collide with the light and the light turn for Centennial Sub, that turn lane, because there is already an issue in the area. Learning that there is a vast area that needs to have consistent monitoring by Eagle due to the sensitive nature of the ground, that is not only their concern on the side of the line, but also that involves the Ohio border, which we do not have control over, and the development that will be taking place on that side of the state line. There is to be major oversight to ensure that neither side brings destruction to this area. If a bi-state collateral can be obtained, there needs to be a deed protection by the owners in the development to ensure protection is maintained, posting of property, etc. Then you have the noise, cars, and other urban sprawl pollution that will have major negativity effect on this natural feature. I do not see how he's going to be able to protect it, and certainly needs to avoid trying to destroy it by secretly impacting the drainage or plant growth. In other words, hands of all aspects of this fragile area. This is probably the biggest concern to the development of the property. The 35-foot common area circumference, look at Village Meadows. The area deemed common area for them is not conducive to others living around them. The area is overgrown with invasive bushes, trees, shrubs, abuse by the kids on ATV, people using the area as DOG, toilet, etc. There may be a way that the HOA is maintained, registered with Township, as they should be, so that it can be overseen with an ordinance to ensure the HOA is keeping compliant with the rules set by planning. This development will have this plus and the protected area, and you tell some kid they can fish and then what, or swim, drownings. All of these homes will learn of this natural feature, if not the people from Ohio side. Number 4, this property has had an individual who lived in Centennial whose children used the property to ride motorbikes on, and the same individual legally hunted the bedding deer that occupy the property. There needs to be major oversight, buffering from Centennial, and what kind. Those people are used to looking out and seeing the beauty of the land, and yes, they should have rallied and bought it. Concern of what happens if it doesn't pass when submitted as a PUD. These 5 issues are the biggest concerns to the development of the property. Thank you for letting me speak to these issues. I will be watching. If it passes, I will be anticipating the next public hearing, and should he seek a rezoning.
Thank you, Jody, and thank you, Ms. Keene. Were there any other letters received that aren't individuals not represented tonight?
Just the 2 that we had received from Mr. Althouse, and I will allow him to speak on those. And they have received them in their packet, so they are aware of your stated comments. I do have them available because Mr. Althouse did provide some photos, and I would like to scroll through those at least to let the public and the developer be aware of what was provided to the township. This is the area in the back, and I believe that the concern, I think this is one of the bald eagles, and then they're nesting. And so he did provide pictures to us from a township standpoint. I know this is irrelevant, but they are very beautiful. Thank you for sharing them. And then, of course, some wildlife. I do know that the developer, Mr. Greeley had spoke regarding reaching out to other entities regarding the requirements for the Eagle's Nest area, and he did provide a pictured scan that shows that where they were defined back in this area, where you can see in this area there are no proposed homes. Smith Road is to the north. This is the Ohio-Michigan border back here. So I believe that the Eagle's Nests were located back here, and Mr. Greeley can speak on that further. But I wanted to let the public know that they are working with determining that area, and that it is outside the developmental in the common open space, which will be clearly defined within their PUD and their master deed.
Yeah, and just in case
I'll
folks,
open it up now to the public.
just in case folks can't see in the photo, the smaller circle that outlines the Eagle's Nest is 330 feet buffer, and the larger circle is 660 feet buffer. So with that, I don't know, Mr. Althouse, do you want to kick us off? Do you want to maybe share or speak to some of the photos that you shared with us, and we can get started from the public? You could just step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Is there a pen? I think she. Okay, if you just want to state it for it and then just write your name on there, just so we can keep record of everyone. If you come up to speak on the podium, there is a sign-in sheet. If you can just put your name, just so we have the correct spelling, if you print it, so we can have correct spelling for our minutes that you attended the meeting, because this will move on to the township board.
My name is Dan Oldhouse. I've lived at 6476 Hickory Hill for off and on for the last 50 years. I saw the golf course in its prime and its heyday when it was the best of the best, and I've seen it, of course, in the condition as it went out of business, and it was very sad to see. But in all that time that I have been there, it's been a corridor for any kind of animal you can ever imagine. And my concern is, and I had conversation with Mr. Grizzly from the Decker Company. We had a wonderful conversation. It was a conversation on every one of our concerns about that property, how special it is, the eagles. I've done a lot of research on what is doable, what is not doable with Fish and Game, with the DNR, on and on. I think these folks are on the right track, but the only issue that I have is it's 70-some units. That's a lot of units for that space. And the thing is, it's a very special piece of property. The property, I bought 7 acres as the golf course went out. I bought 7 acres, and I turned it into a preserve. In other words, I've trimmed it, and I've manicured it, and I've put the right kind of plants in there. I've brought these animals in. My concern is the common space. My concern is what happens to the common space that everybody agrees on, and then it's not enforced. From what I've been able to tell, the floodplain, along with the protected areas for this, is not really well defined. And without it being better defined, where the common spaces are and what happens to the floodplains and how is that part of this development. It's a concern. 70 units going in that space is a big concern, especially parcel 68, 69. I don't know if that's, anybody knows where that is, but it is, and Mr. Grizzly assures me that it's not going to be a problem for the Eagles. Well, we won't know that until the Eagles are gone. I mean, I really don't know if it's going to be a problem, and it may not. It may not be a problem. But it is a big concern. That's a big number to go in on Smith Road. It's a big number for traffic. It's a big number. If you go to most of the developments around the city or around Bedford Township, there's 48, there's 60. We're talking about 70-plus units. That's a lot for the road. That's let's just say 70, but you got a man and a wife and a family and all these other, that's a lot of traffic on that road. And you're bringing all that into this really unique space. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. I'm not saying that to what extent that should be. 70 seems like a high number to me. I just don't know how that all is going to play out, and maybe they've got it all figured. I don't know. But it should, in my opinion, be better defined. I've got a lot of work back in there to protect these corridors. I've seen so many hurt deer from the road, deer that I've had to go in and put down because they got no place to go, and they've been hurt. And there's coyotes back there, and there's all these cranes and geese and ducks. Just, it's huge. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But I I ask that everybody really take a fine tooth comb to this because it is a very special piece of property. And I think I would invite anybody to come to my property and I can better show anybody who wants to see what Bedford Township has in their own backyard. It's incredible and I think it gets overlooked. I don't really have much more to add other than I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of work with regards to this property. I want everybody to be happy. I want people to be able to build. I wouldn't want anybody coming in my backyard and telling me I can't do that. I get that, but I think we all deserve let's just make sure that it's done right. That's my only concern.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate your comment. Anyone else wish to speak? I think we got one. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Diana Soromic,
Yeah.
and I live at 2200 Smith Road. I am right across the street from Tamron. And for the last 5 years or more, I have watched tons of big haulers dumping dirt all day long. Is the dirt contaminated? Where are we getting it from? What are we going to do with it? Are you going to fill in the wetlands with it? I mean, the hill is just so high, and all day long, for the last 5 years, they dump dirt. They're bringing in more dirt. Where's the dirt coming from? I have great concerns for that. Please come to my home, sit in my front yard, and watch these big haulers bring in this dirt. And I don't know what they're going to do with it. And also, I'd like to know is how many entrances is there going to be into this subdivision? Just the one on Smith? Because if that's the case, I'm going to have to put my blinker on to turn right or left in my driveway. Because that road is directly across from me. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am. Just so we have it spelled correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
While she's writing down her name, does anyone else want to speak next?
I just had a question, if the city planner has
Could
been involved in this, for,
Have to come up to the mic.
Yeah, you'll have to come up to the mic to speak. Jody, can we maybe put the sign-in sheet, like, do we have a table? No, we don't. Okay, never mind. It took the table.
I hope she brings her out one day.
If you could just state your name and address, and then you can continue your question about the
okay.
budget planner.
My name is Craig Finch, and I live in Summerfield Woods.
Thank you.
And my question is, has the city planner been involved in this from the road commission to see how many people in 71 homes, the normal, the average is 3 per vehicle, 3 trips per day. That'd be 271 trips. Now, if you have children or 2 vehicles, multiply that out. So has the road commission been involved with this? Because Smith Road is narrow, and at Smith and Douglas, we know that is a problem area. There's been a lot of accidents there, people being hit, hurt. The lady that was just up here explaining the big pile of dirt last week, could have been this beginning of this week, they were taking that dirt out, and I don't know if they're using it down at the circle that they're putting in, but half of the road was closed. The edges of the road have no curb and no edge, so it's going to be to me, a big problem if you put that much traffic back onto Smith Road. So that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Finch. Appreciate that. I'm guessing we have probably a number of people that want to speak, so I guess as people finish, just next person come on up. And just make sure to state your name and address. Thank you.
And then we did move the sheet for signing in on the back table, so as soon as you make your comment, if you could just sign on that, and then. Over there? Okay. You can speak first, and then print your name over there, and then as soon as he leaves the podium, the next person can come up.
Yeah, my name is Ronald Sromick. I live at 2200. That was my wife that spoke just before the other man. And personally, when it first started out, it was all this dirt being hauled. They keep bringing the dirt in. These trucks come down the road. They bounce, bounce, bounce. I developed a crack in my hallway on my home, right where the arch is, from those trucks pounding down the road. Now, if we're talking about this subdivision back there, Smith Road is really busy now. What is 71, like the last gentleman was talking about? How much more traffic is this gonna be? Because we have a hard time right now getting out of our driveway. And now they're putting that roundabout in, I know it's not the same issue, but they're putting that roundabout in, and they're gonna come constant. The only break we get would be Summerfield Road. That light there. Other than that, probably sit there all day to get out of our driveway. Now, how much is that gonna add to Smith Road traffic if they're coming and going all the time? Now, that driveway isn't exactly in the front of my property. It's over just a little bit. So staggering like that, that's gonna be hard for us to get out. Because they're constantly they see a break, they're gonna go. Because I notice a lot of people are a little heavy on the foot when they come down Smith. And they want to beat everybody out. So, I mean, I think you're gonna see accidents go up. I really do, because it's bad now. There's like that one gentleman said about Smith Road. That's terrible. Smith and Douglas. That's a terrible, there's been so many bad, really severe accidents there. So, but anyway, I'm really not for all that many back there. And I do have a question. Where, they have that little side street there. What is it, Hickory Hill or something? Yeah, there's a little side street, the first one.
This is Hickory Hill, and this is Sunrise Park.
Sunrise Park, yeah. That runs right with my property line. The line's right up with that fence there. And where is that driveway? Is it gonna be existing where that comes out now? Where that temporary drive is? Is that where it's gonna be? Or, but I don't know, nothing's ever been said, and we've asked questions, got no answers. But anyway, me personally, and as far as we're going here, I personally don't want that many back there. That's too many for the area, as far as I'm concerned. So with that, just kind of consider that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And I guess to the members in the audience, quick, as people are speaking, if you could just try to minimize chatter. It gets a little hard to focus on.
Can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
My name is Christine Bruno Finch, and I'm Craig's wife, and I just want to elaborate a little bit more. I live in Summerfield Woods, so it's just north of this. The light is at Summerfield and Smith. You've got the exit for Centennial Village. You've got the new entrance, and those are both on the south side, Summerfield on the north side, and within a 1 mile area from Douglas to the entrance to Centennial. The traffic getting in and out of any of these subdivisions with no improvement to the infrastructure to Smith Road. My husband mentioned that it's not an improved road. If you drive down, the sides are all chipped out from the big trucks coming down. Every now and then, they stone and tar, but it's a real hit and miss thing. They did put about 100 feet of new pavement at Douglas and up a little bit, but right in that home that is now for sale and has the giant pond in front of it, every time it rains hard, Smith Road is a flood. What is the township planning for infrastructure correction for this? You are not looking at, okay, you're talking 70 homes, 2 people per homes, 2 cars, that's 142 cars, at least 3 more in a day. You're talking 500 in and out of that subdivision area by itself. That's a tremendous amount of homes for the infrastructure on the main street. And like they said, once that roundabout opens up, there will be no break in traffic. It'll be constant. Nobody will be able to get in and out of their driveways, in and out of the subdivision. You're going to put a light at what? Centennial, Summerfield, and the entrance to this one too? That is insane. And the traffic on Smith Road is just gets worse all the time. And it isn't just Michigan people. People come up to avoid Alexis Road and sneak down Smith because they think it's a quick shot. There's more Ohio plates going down Smith Road. You can't tell them they can't do that. But if you're not going to improve Smith Road with turn lanes, with a berm, with curbs on the sides to protect the pavement itself. What about anybody walking down the road? In the last year, I know there have been 2 fairly major accidents coming out of Centennial Village. The people spent time in the hospital. There was an accident on Smith Road where there was a death. There have been multiple accidents at Douglas and Smith Road. It's already, if you look at your fire you know, the log, it's already a high accident area. And now you add to the weather conditions, the icing when it freezes over because it rained first at where that comes across the road down there by Douglas Road. You're asking for some real headaches, and I won't live here any longer.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Samantha Irvin, and about a couple of years ago, I just moved to Bedford Township from Monroe. I do live on Sunrise Park, and I have visited Mr. Outhouse's area. It is beautiful, and honestly, if that area right there that you're planning to build those condominiums, if I would have known they were there, I probably wouldn't have moved into my house. That area is the reason why I moved to my house. And Mr. Outhouse's place is even better. It's beautiful. Do you realize all those wildlife have actually somewhere now to go? If you build those condominiums, no matter if you think the eagles are going to be okay or not, which there might be a chance, there might not be, but regardless, we don't know. And there could, all those people that you're planning to put in those condominiums, how many times are they going to come and ruin those eagles? How many times are they going to come and bother them?
Ms. Irvin, if you could just direct your comments to us as a commission and not the applicant.
Sure, yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I just feel like, you know, I think a lot of people have said a lot of great things, and I think they're right. I think really you guys just really need to like look into this, please. That's all I'm asking is please. Like, I love nature, I love animals, and I hate even seeing all the animals on the roadkill, the people leave, and they're right. Smith Road is very busy. It is. There's a lot of accidents. My kids walk down that road because I don't really, like, my road's very short. So where are my kids going to walk? Where are they going to ride their bike? What are they going to do anything? You put condominiums in there, you get all that traffic, the accidents, everything, and then all the pollution. Like, you're just making things worse. I mean, I just want you guys to really think about what you're doing. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name's Doug Althouse. I live at 6476 Hickory Hill. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My point of view is more of the nature sanctuary part of it. And I want to express my support for the project moving forward, but in a responsible way. At the same time, I respectfully ask the commission and the applicant to formalize protection of the back half of the parcel as permanent open space or a wildlife sanctuary. There are well-established legal tools available under Michigan law to accomplish this. A recorded conservation easement under the National Resource Environmental Protection Act. It's a restricted covenants that run with the land or a former open space dedicated as part of the PUD approval can all ensure the area remains protected in its entirety. These mechanisms are commonly used in the plan unit developments and give both the township and future residents lasting assurance that the habitat will be preserved. I do have one specific request regarding the preliminary PUD plans. While the plans appear to show an area of common open space, the documents do not clearly define or call out exactly where the common open space begins and ends. For the benefit of everyone involved, including the developer, the township, and all the neighboring property owners, I respectfully ask that the boundaries of the common open space be clearly and precisely documented in the final plans and any related legal instruments. Having clearly defined and recorded boundary will help ensure the intended protection is enforceable and transparent going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Looks like it runs with the floodplain. I don't either. I don't either.
I'm Joanne Guyton Simmons. I live at 6503 Sunrise Park, adjacent to Dan Althouse. And I have 4 acres of oak protected land that I lived there for 68 years. So I have an interest not just in the wildlife, but I have wildflowers. I have oak trees that feed the wildlife with acorns, the caterpillars. I watch the birds. And I just want to give you some information that you may not know, that this actually is a part of the Oak Openings region. So it's even more special than you probably knew. And they do have a Green Alliance that goes into East Michigan to help property owners establish corridors, establish native plants, and make sure there's corridors and that we preserve this little bit of the oak openings that we have in Southeast Michigan. I don't want to build on my property. I never have built on it. We bought it so that it wouldn't be built on. I actually wanted to have it as part of a common space, a preserve, and I was willing to donate it, but the township wasn't really that interested. But if we could work out something so that we had a larger preserve, I would still be willing to make conservation and donate my property so that it stays as it is in a natural state. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jack Barker, and I live on Yorktown Place in Summerfield Woods, and that community is a community of more elderly people, and it doesn't appear that there's been a lot of consideration been done as to those communities and the people that have been there forever, and the fact that people aren't going to be able to get out of there. The infrastructure isn't there. It just isn't there. And I just heard that we're supposed to be getting a widened road there. And I'd like to know where you're going to widen it to. Are you going to put it on somebody's porch? Because those houses are not far enough away to widen that road. And the elderly people coming out there are not going to be able to get out, and it's going to cause congestion and a lot of heartache for a lot of people there. You know, I love the fact that there's a lot of wildlife there too, the eagles, the deer and everything, but you know, I'm really more concerned about the people that are there, and the thought that most of those people are going to wind up moving away from there. I know I will be, because it just isn't conducive to what I moved there for. And originally, when that land was put up for sale, I thought that it was going to be 5-acre parcels along there, and there was going to be single homes there. And now we're talking, you know, I can't get a straight answer here. So this says 70 units, then I've seen 71 units, I've seen 73 units, you know. So, you know, in any case, 70 or 70 plus units is just going to be too much for people to tolerate in there. And, you know, I think there's going to be a mass exodus from that area. So, you know, I really hope that you guys take a look at this and listen to it. And I'd like to see the studies on from the road commission as to what that road can tolerate according to what the state says. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi. I'm Christine Silly. I don't have enough copies for everybody. Sorry, I didn't know there were so many people. So, but I have some copies, some of the same things, pictures, maps, things of that, but I would like to enter it in, so to have it as part of the public record. So my name's Christine Silly. I live at 1887 Carisbrook Drive in Centennial Village. So basically, I want to oppose what's happening. I have a couple things I'm going to read. I probably won't get through everything. But I want to talk about like our private road maintenance and our liability for us. So our streets within Centennial Village are not maintained by the municipality or the county. We're under a private road easement, which I know several of our neighbors in our neighborhood have been putting stuff on our page about what it's going to cost us financially to get our roads fixed. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because on some of these plans, which I included some of this same plan, on sheet C100 of the developer's blueprint, it specifically labels 3 separate areas along our shared borders and proposed 50-foot wide right-of-way. So a connection to Centennial Road, Centennial Court, and Carriage Lane. So I know it was said that like our snub streets they were not going to have access to us, but after reviewing the plans, that this is like establishing a legal right-of-way that serves as a structural safety valve to satisfy municipal fire codes by reserving the legal right to dump future traffic volume directly into our private streets. So down the road, if they decide, hey, guess what, we're going to take out these roundabouts, they can completely take those out and go back and connect to our snub roads without having a vote for that, without having to have another hearing. This is the way I understand it, so I'm not meeting a developer. My next thing is I want to talk about how we have a single loop, only one way in road for our entire development. So the traffic coming off Summerfield and Smith already makes a horrible bottleneck during several different hours, even the afternoon, the morning, and when everybody's getting off work. So adding another 73 units, 71, 72, whatever it's going to turn out to be, is going to completely overwhelm our entire section of Smith Road. I already have times when I'm waiting 8 to 10 minutes just to pull out to get to Summerfield Light so I can turn on to Summerfield. That's crazy to me. That's like, and for me, it's like, I don't know how anybody else is, but for me, I drive a manual transmission. So in the winter, going up our hill, I'm always praying so nobody pull behind me, because I'm gonna roll backwards to get out of the hill to ice, and I cannot take off like other people do. So sometimes, like this last winter, I've waited there for over 20 minutes. 20 minutes I had to call in, because I'm gonna be late to work, because I can't pull out of my own subdivision. And now we're gonna add 73 more homes with, let's just say, at the least, it'll be 2 cars. At the least, but the chance of that or not, these people aren't gonna have kids. I have 2 neighbors direct me right now, and both of their kids just started driving. There's 5 cars outside of their house now. Not that I care, I'm just saying that's how it happens. So for me, that's already going to be a huge problem. The second thing, I know everybody is talking about the low-lying natural drainage basage and the wetland, and that does a massive amount of our water off of our house, off of our runoff for our neighborhood. So where is the 73 units, where, if you take away the natural sponge, where is their runoff going? So is that going to be directly coming downhill from portions of the grading and displacing the stormwater? So I have several formal questions in here. I'm not going to go through all of them. I submitted them for the record, so you can answer them, and I would like to have it formally written and answers back from the developer on the questions and that are in here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening. My name's John Miller, and I live at 2156 Smith Road, and I've lived there for almost 48 years. And I can remember Tamaron being Sunningdale when I was a caddying it. I was 14 years old. And over those years, I never thought I'd ever buy a house right across the street from where I used to caddy, but that happened. To fill you guys in, living there all these years, I've watched so many things transpire, and I've kind of agree with everything everyone said. The place is not for homes like we're trying to do, and I shouldn't say we, but I think we're all part of Bedford. It's a place that they've said it should be for the people and for the way that it's been set up over the years, that is accustomed to development, but yet still brings in the people with nature, okay? And across the street from me, within a few years, they built some beautiful homes right along Smith Road there. And they're building another one right now. And I had no complaints. The only complaint I have now is with the road itself, which I complained about 30 years ago to the Monroe County Road Commission about the road being fixed and replaced. It's never been replaced since I've lived there. It's only had chip and seal. And I've asked the Monroe County to do something about it. Oh yeah, we're going to do it. They said they're going to do it in 2025, never got done. Now they're talking about 2028, that they're going to redo the ditches and also to take and widen it a bit, okay? But like I said, I agree with what they're all saying, 100%. And the only thing I'm adding to it is one other thing, is that the noise level on that street has gotten so bad since I moved in that they call it the quarter-mile run. The guys at the light there at Smith and Summerfield shoot on down Jackson to see if they can hit the quarter mile in under 4 seconds. So it's gotten to be a pretty nice drag strip. But go by there sometime at rush hour and sit there and watch it. It's really something to see, I tell you. So anyways, that's my voice for tonight, and I hope you take it in and understand what some of us who live there and appreciate what we have and like to see it go on even for our next generation that may be on that street too. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lori Knight. I live at 6453 Cheltenham Drive in Centennial Estates. My husband and I have lived there going on 30 years, just short of that, and we have had Tamaron and the wildlife for all these years. We have also had, as other people have said and shared, the ATVs and the motorcycles and teenagers driving pickup trucks and cars back there at nighttime and doing whatever teenagers do. We're all teenagers at one time. But there's also, some kids built a tree house out there, decimated that area. It's hanging there, it's junk, it is a hazard. My grandkids have wanted to visit that, and I'm like, no. Kids built this, it's hanging and falling apart. Somebody is going to get hurt there. So, I wonder why the township and the owner of the land, the developer, is not doing anything about getting rid of that, because somebody is going to get hurt. And people using fireworks, fireworks are beautiful, but I don't think that it should be outside of our own properties. I agree with everything that everyone has shared in here. We love our neighborhoods. We love where we live. We have chosen those homes because of what they have to offer. We've chosen Bedford Township because Bedford has been a great community. I graduated from here. I think that everyone that lives here, you really bleed Bedford. Otherwise, you don't stay here as Bedford. And so I have some questions that I want to apply to you guys that, okay, it says condos, and we've already covered that it's said 70 here, 71 here, 73. Okay, how many units is it really? What kind of condos is it? Is it 55 plus? Is it family? It was mentioned that there's varying cost. Okay, that makes my mind go, well, wait a minute. If you have higher end houses, people hopefully tend to take care of their property a little better. Do we have any funding housing going on that? I don't think anybody has asked that question, if there was any funding for this. What about the mature trees? We're talking about the wildlife. Not only do we have eagles there, but we have hawks that have nests in those trees. I had to quit letting my cats outside because I was afraid they were going to get picked up and eaten, which is okay. It's wildlife. They need that. But is the developer taking all the trees down? Or are they going to take into consideration that that has been the home life of many habitat? What about the 6-foot chain link fence? Some people did remove it. It is kind of falling apart. It was Tamaron's property. Right now, we have the 6-foot chain link fence, and we have dogs. I would like to know, okay, what are you going to do with that fence? Are you taking it down? How much notice are you going to give each of us homeowners? Because that's a cost that we have to incur replacing that fencing. You already answered the question about how many phases, and like I said about the varying cost of homes, that kind of makes me question. But as everyone was bringing up the traffic, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I did not even think about that. And I support everybody. There's no way that can support 70 or even 60 homes back there. It really can't. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Damon Brown. I live at 2251 Smith Road, right at the corner of Hickory Hill and Smith. Couple of things everybody's talked about is traffic. Obviously, we're going to have more. The one thing nobody has talked about so far is, what about schools? Our schools are already overloaded. All these houses are going to bring in more kids. Where are these kids going to go? What school buses are they going to ride? My kids stand at the corner of Smith and Hickory Hill for their school bus. They're already telling me that there's 3+ kids per seat on most of the seats on the bus that goes past my house into Centennial. Through it, if that neighborhood goes there, it's assuming going to go into that neighborhood. We don't have enough, our schools aren't capable of taking on that many more. What are we going to do for that? The roads, like I came home from work today, they dug the ditch out in front of my house today while I was at work. My neighbor a couple houses down talked to the people that were working on that, said that is their solution for all the accidents that we have out there. My neighbor right next door has had her mailbox taken out 3 times in the last 2 years from accidents on Smith Road. And they say digging a ditch is gonna prevent these accidents? How's that gonna work? I don't understand how they're gonna add that many more properties, that many more people, that much more traffic into that area. Also, I remember when, was it in 21 when I had my barn built, I had to have sign off from Mineral County Road, or Mineral County, Water Division, whatever it is for the creek, that I had to have a soil erosion test done if I was within so many feet of the creek. Whether you add, move, change dirt, if you're within so many feet of the creek, I want to say it was like 500 or 600 feet at the time, that you had to have a sign off from them. That big hill that's out there, how far is that from the creek? Do they have that permit done? They're moving dirt in and out of there every day. Where is this dirt going to? They're adding dirt there. Has this permit from the Water Division been done to add that dirt there? What are we gonna do with all the runoff from all that dirt, filling in all those floodplains? Where's everything gonna go? It's gonna go into Halfway Creek, which is gonna back up everybody that's along Halfway Creek into their yards. There's not enough, that creek doesn't flow enough to fill in the floodplains that are already there. So that's all.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Dawn Manning. I live at 2015 Smith Road, and we live in the house right next to Centennial Village. Oh, sorry. We live in the house right next to Centennial Village, and we cannot get out of our driveway. It takes us forever, and there's accidents constantly at Summerfield and Smith, constantly, bad accidents. It's just horrible. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen, like he was saying, with the schools. I also have been told by a family member that lives in Ohio that Maple Grove is also being sold, and there's going to be a lot of condominium or houses or apartments that are going to be built there. So they're also going to be coming in from Ohio and into Michigan as well. So I don't know if anybody was aware about Maple Grove being sold, but it has been sold. Maple Grove in Ohio has been sold, but the Michigan portion there's going to be building 11 apartment buildings, tall buildings in that area too. So they're going to come in from Secor, but they're also going to come from Smith Road as well. My daughter and son-in-law live, and they have been told that Maple Grove, that's what Maple Grove is planned. So there again, there's just a lot more traffic that's going to be happening. It's just, the traffic is just horrible, like the one person was saying. You cannot get in and out of your driveway safely. You just
Excuse me, ma'am,
can't.
I'm sorry. If everybody from the public, if you could just keep the chatter down, you'll have the opportunity to speak if you choose. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And I, I don't have any children that go to Bedford right now, but I feel sorry for, a lot of the younger families, that have their kids in the school districts. What's going to happen with them, with the school buses? I mean, people fly down our road. The roundabout, maybe that is a necessary thing. I'm not sure. But, right now, at least where Jackman Road is, and Smith, there was a light there. We had traffic that was able to stop there, and then traffic that was stopped at Smith and Summerfield. Now we're not going to have any traffic there. I mean, it's just going to be a constant flow. There's going to be so many accidents on Smith Road, and there's going to be a ton of them at Smith and Summerfield. I mean, that's just a terrible place right there. Sorry, that's my alarm going off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lloyd Scott Duquette, and not only I'm talking about the traffic, but the taxing of our law, their being out there, being recognized. There's these things, you come to each corner sometimes and it says, stop. People don't stop. People don't care. Our law enforcement needs to be out there to show you can't do this. We got people from Ohio think it's okay to do rolling stops. People from Michigan do rolling stops. Stop means stop. I feel very threatened when I get on the road, when I see people on their cell phones, which is supposed to be illegal. But nothing is done. These guys are so busy, they can't get out and do their jobs. And that's all I have to say. We need to support our law enforcement. Thank you.
My name is Daryl Lucas. I live in Centennial Village. And I guess my question would be, is this a done deal? Because I've heard a lot of questions here. I haven't heard any answers. I've been watching you. 4 or 5 of you seem to be paying attention pretty well. All these questions that are being proposed, when do we get the answers? I'll repeat, is it a done deal? Has the I's been dotted and the T's been crossed? I'm still not hearing anything.
Yeah, so after this public hearing, we're going to bring the applicant back up and ask him to weigh in on some of these questions, but we first want to give the public the opportunity to express their concerns and provide questions.
Okay, well, my concern, 70, 71, 72, whatever it is, insane. You guys, to me, my opinion, you put the cart before the horse. I don't know how well thought out this was with that roundabout. What people have been talking about, that's a red light that stops traffic from going to the other red light at Summerfield. That's not going to happen anymore. I know a lot of people are talking about it's a nature preserve, and I won't address that right now. But just from a logistical point of view, if there had been a proposition, someone said, hey, we're putting some homes back there, 20, 25, 30, I think people would have said, all right, take care of the land, you have your homes. 72 is insane, absolutely insane. One of the ladies came up and spoke about, I live in Centennial Village, and there's no guarantee that those roads that are now dead ends will not be connected into this new Ravine View Estates. We haven't received anything like that. I know it says a common area. We don't know if there's going to be a fence. And I know you're saying that you're going to address this afterwards. When? Is there going to be another hearing where we're going to get a list of questions and answers, or is this going to, hey, they're starting to build? That's my problem with it right now. Like I said, if you were serious about this, very serious, Smith Road would have had work done to it already. They would have thought this out much better. Filling in a floodplain? Are you nuts? The water's got to go somewhere. I mean, that's just, there's a lot of other things. I'm not going to sit up here and beat the drum anymore, but my point of view, just cancel this out. That'd be my point of view. I know people want to make money off it. Go make your money someplace else.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Arvanitis. I live on 3563 West Samaria Road. I just had one question just to echo everybody's here. Was there a traffic study done or not? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Yep, come on up.
Chris Kears, 6388 Cheltenham in Centennial Village. Echo everyone's concerns with the traffic. Very interested to hear the results of a traffic study. Would like to some commitment that this will not connect to Centennial Village. It is a very close-knit neighborhood. You walk around any time of day, there's people walking, children, dogs. This amount of traffic, if connected at some point in the future, would put that in jeopardy. Additionally, if this does ultimately go through, are there current considerations for deed restrictions limiting rental under the condo association, with there being a wide variety of price point of homes? As someone that's worked in the development field, I think open opportunity to turn this into rentals and at some portion in this development. So will there be restrictions limiting or prohibiting rentals? Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Clean air and what have you. It's just nice to be there. And I don't know an area that's got the snakes we do. I know a lot of people don't like them, but, it's good to see them, and amphibians. But whatever happens, happens, Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Anyone? Come on up. If you could just let her speak first. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Sana Kanai. I'm Dan Althouse's granddaughter. So I'm actually just interested in to understand how it will help our community, financially, all of it. I'm a little uneducated about a lot of it, so that's why I'm here asking, just to get a better understanding. I'm not against it, I'm not for it, I just kind of want what's best for everybody. We are trying to make the wildlife better, so just trying to get a better understanding of what that's going to do for our community, just so that we can support, but I do think that is a lot of homes. And so, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Did anyone else new that hasn't spoken yet have anything else to say? If not, sir, you can come back up and speak.
I just wanted to add.
Got to get to the microphone.
If you could just come up to the mic. That way the folks online.
Why are the trucks in there bringing dirt in there now?
Say it again.
Trucks are bringing dirt
Yeah.
back in that area now. What's that for?
Sure, yep.
Yeah, what's it for?
Okay.
When the
Well, good.
developer gets up, if he has an answer, he can answer
Yeah,
it right now. It's just
certainly.
public comment time.
Yep. Yeah, we don't know, but we can ask.
You don't know.
We can ask the developer.
You cannot develop it.
Oh, the planning commission is not bringing this subject to the table. A private developer is.
Mr. Decker, you mean?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Mr.
okay.
Greeley's going to come back up. We'll ask him questions after the public hearing is
Okay,
closed.
very good. And one last question is, or one thing I want the people to know too, that besides cars and that, you'd also have Amazon, FedEx, all the other vehicles that'll be going back in there. So just add that to the
Thank you.
questions for the developer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else from the public? Just want to offer that up one more time before we close the public hearing. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. It's 8:11 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for coming up and sharing. It's much appreciated, and it definitely helps us as a commission as we weigh in on this topic. So, Mr. Greeley, if you could come back up. We'll move into more of a question and answer.
Sure,
commission.
absolutely.
But if you want to respond to any specific comments that were made or just make a general statement.
Well, I understand we have a lot of very passionate people here, and I understand that, and, you know, that's good for our community. I also want to point out that what we're proposing to do is very good for our community. I know they're going to disagree, but every person that's gotten up here and spoken, most of them live in Centennial Village, which is more dense than our subdivision. They live in Summerfield Woods, which I developed, is more dense than this subdivision. So we've already looked at a piece of property that could accommodate upwards of 100 units, and we've trimmed that number down to 71. So,
If you
but
could
you can
address the
disagree,
board,
but
please.
but you not have any knowledge.
Mr. Greeley.
Okay, yes, thank you, okay.
So, Mr. Greeley, if you could speak to us, but also members of the public comment is over. So if you could please just keep your comments to yourself, it'd be appreciated.
So we have a much less dense subdivision. We're doing a really nice job, in my opinion, of protecting the natural area in the back. We could actually go back there and build houses on the hill, but we decided that it would be nicer as open space, not necessarily for the community, but it would be an amenity to our subdivision. So we have much less density than the two subdivisions that are represented in the audience. I've heard a comment that we're going to be filling the wetlands. That's untrue. We've had 2 wetland studies in there to verify the location of the wetlands. So we know exactly where the wetlands are, and we've avoided the wetlands with all of our disruption. We know exactly where the floodplain is. We know exactly where the floodway is, and we've avoided both of those areas with our development. We do have a big pile of dirt in there. It has not been hauled every single day for 5 years. There's been hauling lately because the people doing the roundabout needed a close place to deposit dirt, and I let them deposit dirt there. The Monroe County Drain Commission has been cleaning drains around the township, and they would like to have someplace local to drop that dirt. So I've allowed them to drop dirt on that property as well. That dirt is not going into the floodway. The dirt is not going into the floodplain. The dirt is not going into a wetland. It's going to be used in upland areas of the site to level it out. We did get a soil erosion permit to bring that dirt in. We followed all the rules of Monroe County when we brought any dirt into the subdivision. We put a temporary drive in to, like me to go up and point it out for the audience?
You're going to have to speak into the
Oh, I can talk
Well,
loud.
have George,
Yeah,
you got a,
George, can
you got
you
a
bring
microphone.
out the wireless mic for Mr.
Oh, okay.
Greeley?
But
So
I-
he can point for the public.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
I guess this plan as presented shows grading within that floodway. So I need some clarification on that. If you're telling us you're not doing any grading
Yeah,
inside that.
absolutely.
And Mr. Chair, if I could,
Sure,
for the
Jody.
record, give clarification to the public that the confusion of the 73 units to the 71 units was the initial plan that was submitted for the public hearing notice was 73 units. So when I wrote up the public hearing notice, I of course went by the plan that was submitted. But when the developer looked at the ordinance language with his engineer, he was not meeting the setback from Smith Road for the homes. So they had to decrease it by the 2 units. So that's where the confusion of 71 from 73 came from. It was an error from the public hearing notice, but it was the original plan, and then it had since been amended before the meeting tonight. That's why it's down to 71, and it was a decrease, so we did not have to republish the paper, just for clarification, because it was my error by going by the plan. And I'll let Mr. Greeley speak.
Thank you, Jody.
Can they hear?
I think
enough?
so. Yeah.
Okay. So Kyle, up here we have these 2 dotted lines. That is a floodway. And then when you look out here, you can see this is floodplain.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're going to do is you can see this here floodway is actually going up the hill. We're going to take a little compensating cut. It's something we permit through the DEQ or Eagle, whichever you prefer to call it. We do a compensating cut to move some of the floodplain over here where the floodway is supposed to be, and then we're going to fill a little of this area in here for these backyards. So that's a compensating cut that we permit through Eagle to make that happen. So it doesn't change the flow of the water. It doesn't change the capacity of the creek at all. It just moves capacity from one edge to the other.
Can you let us know where you're at with your application process with Eagle? Have you had a pre-application meeting on site? Have you had any conversations with the local regulatory representative?
So we've had 2 Eagle meetings. So we've done the wetlands 2 times with Eagle. The first one was several years ago. It takes quite a long time to get land developed in Bedford Township. So that Eagle report timed out. We had to do another one, which basically verified that nothing has changed on the site, so that we have a fresh Eagle report. So we've had 2 of those.
That sounds like good delineation, maybe, but have you actually met with Eagle on site and walked them through? Okay.
Yeah. Every time we have Eagle down, I meet with them, yes.
Okay. And they've kind of bought into this plan so far?
Well, they're not going to decide. They don't look at the land as a subdivision. They look at, are we touching any protected wetlands? So that's why you'll see on this map, the properties up here in the light tone, that's a protected wetland. This is a protected wetland. This is a protected wetland. This is a protected wetland. So you'll notice that we don't have any impacts whatsoever in the protected wetlands. If you do, it takes forever. You could get a permit to do an impact in a wetland, but I don't have an extra 5 years. So we avoid all the protected wetlands because it's timely and economical for us to do that.
Barry, you got something?
I'll let you go.
Sure, as always. Obviously, I think people need to understand too that a PUD is a unique type of development. PUD is a unique type of development in a township, where townships allow this under special ordinance to occur, where they take and create a more dense development by salvaging or saving a larger portion of the other area. That's the method that they are using to develop this property, rather than spread out the development over the entire property. Our goal as a plan commission is to try to look at this development within the ordinance standards and requirements, and look at the technical aspects and determine if they've met those criteria that is set forth by the township ordinance. Obviously, there's a lot of questions, a lot of hoops that have to be jumped through. Obviously, extrapolating further on the issue of the floodplain, obviously you've addressed the wetland issue. The floodplain does extend into probably 7 or 8 or 9 of those lots that have to be dealt with through permitting.
Yes.
Have you initiated any sort of permitting with regard to the floodplain issues? Or
my engineer wants to wait until after we go to Bedford Township, the board, so that we don't go through that process without some assurances that we're on the right path with Bedford Township. But we have had internal discussions with myself and our engineers on the processes, and they have people that are expert with meeting with the DEQ and working on the paperwork. We've got a lot of it kind of half-started for our compensating cuts.
Yeah, because it did appear that there's quite a substantial volume of fill, the way you're proposed, what I believe to be the proposed contours.
Yes.
Requiring a substantial amount of fill.
Yes.
In the floodplain that you're proposing.
Yes, but it's all going to be dealt with in a compensating cut, removing some of that hillside so that we don't restrict the flow of water in any way, shape, or form.
Understandable.
And that will be 100% permitted before we start.
Obviously, there are a lot of questions on the roadway itself. The road commission deals with the entranceway features. I've seen some preliminary data from the road commission indicating that they are working with the road commission. It looks like there will be some additional laneage those are very preliminary, and the study's still underway with the road commission. But the road commission's kind of got to put blinders on, unfortunately. They look at just kind of the entranceway features and the impact that the turning movements and the like occur within that limited distance along Smith Road, which we all know has a tremendous amount of traffic already on it. But for their development, they need to look at what's impacting the driveway, the turn lanes, the cell lanes, and the bypass lanes. And those all have to be worked out yet.
Yeah, we have a full traffic study turned in to the road
saw
commission.
some of the comments, yeah.
Yes, so they're just working through some of the details with the road commission to come up with a final determination on what they require for the entrance.
I guess a clarifying question for everyone, and I'm sure someone else probably has the same one. Jody, has road commission changed their approval? Because the letter we have says not approved. There are comments, but I didn't see anywhere in those comments that that was granting an approval from their end.
Keep in mind, this is a concept. This is where they are just doing the initial reviews to give the developer, before doing all those details, such as Mr. Bushman said, the turn lane, those types of things. They are looking at the traffic impact study right now. They have not reviewed it, but keep in mind the roads interior are private. They are not public roads. They will build by ordinance. They have to be built to Monroe County Road Commission standards, but they are not under the jurisdiction of the road and inside the development. In this instance, the road commission is only looking at the access point for the determination. So the traffic impact study is where they are going to get that requirement from the road commission of what's going to be required at the entrance.
Okay, this sounds eerily familiar to the last one we had, where the road commission really hasn't provided exact feedback on what they want yet.
That was a plat. That was a different, those are all going to be public roads within that development.
I'm just, where the entrance itself.
The entrance
letter I have
itself
from
is
the
what we're
road
looking
commission
at.
says this plan is not approved. There's some comments from the road commission, but I don't see where they've changed their stance on saying this is exactly what the entrance is going to be.
It will come back again. This concept will be a determination and then presented to the township board for determination at the next meeting, and then it will come back for a final preliminary PUD, and then it will go through a rezoning. So the public will be notified again for the final, so they will be able to see all the details. But at this point, this is just for the developer to determine whether he can move forward with the engineering details. I will address the comment and a question that was asked regarding the connection to Centennial. These are private roads. It will not be connected by a public road, and if there was ever any change to that, it would have to be a determination by the condominium association and the Monroe County Road Commission, because Centennial is under a jurisdiction of the Road Commission. So there is no proposed connection, and there are homes proposed on that west side of Centennial, east side of this property line in this area where the connection would be proposed. So the 60-foot road right-of-way here and the 60-foot road right-of-way shown here is what is existing from the platted subdivision as it stands today. I know that was a question from one of the residents, but that is a platted subdivision, and those road right-of-ways are already in existence. Has nothing to do with the roads that are connected here, just for clarification.
Okay, I guess since this is a concept, I'll ask the applicant, can you walk us through what the road commission has told you they would expect at the entrance off Smith?
Yeah, right now, what they're looking at is they're trying to determine through our traffic study if they want us to do an acceleration lane and a deceleration lane. Most of the other comments that they've had, we've already addressed, and that's one of the reasons why the plans have changed from 73 to 71 units, because we had some comments there. We addressed those comments and changed the plans so that we had the ability to put a flare in for a deceleration and an acceleration lane. So we're just waiting for a final determination from the road commission on what they're going to require. Then we will meet that requirement. We have to meet that requirement. So it's not something that's optional for us. If they have a requirement, we have to meet that requirement to pass all of our approvals to get the subdivision built. So if they require something, we're going to do it.
with respect to the connection, should the development go forward, you know, we talked about no physical roadway connection. I've worked with other developments where a pedestrian type or bikeway type of pathway would connect the two to give some opportunities for people to have alternative walkways or bicycle ways for both residents of both subdivisions to work out. That's something to consider. I'm not, obviously it's not in our determination to require that, but I mean, it is a beneficial development in my opinion and has been done in some other cases where traffic itself, vehicles were not permitted, but other alternative methods of connection were considered.
We have that in our Adler Estates in our final phase. There's a connection to an existing subdivision that we're going to have a 5-foot pathway going through there so that we can have pedestrian and bicycle traffic, but we'll put some bollards up to prevent car traffic. I mean, we've already heard complaints about four-wheelers and motorbikes and things of that. I can guarantee you that's not us out there riding the motorbikes, and it's not us out there riding the four-wheelers, and it's not us out there building the forts. That's probably somebody that lives very close by that's doing those things out there. So in some places we do that pedestrian. I didn't see a good location for that to happen in this, and that's why we don't have one. We did actually at a preliminary drawing have a connection to Centennial because in reality it's good planning to have a connection for traffic flow. But at the time, the road commission would not allow a private to public connection, so we took it out. So I don't see it coming back in at this time.
In terms of your stormwater detention, there's been some discussion about stormwater. Obviously, you show a large area kind of in the middle of the development where you have about a 10-foot deep stormwater detention area, which is assumed to be dry.
Yes.
I assume most of the development water, all the roadway water, property water, and the like is supposed to be channeled to that?
Yes, all of our water will go to our on-site detention pond and then be metered out into Halfway Creek.
I guess just a concern that I've noticed over the years that having a detention area in the backyards often can, after years, some of the siltation and the pipes can fill up and that becomes a mucky mess and difficult, if not impossible, to mow at times and is not exactly an attractive issue. So I know that's why a lot of times they're moved to an alternate location. And
we've got, if you drive by our Adler Estate subdivision, you'll see our detention ponds right in the front of the subdivision. Gets mowed every week. We have a few heavy trees in the middle of it, but most of the homeowners prefer to keep those. So we've come up with an overflow design that we've used in the last couple of subdivisions. I think works much better than what we were using 10, 15 years ago. So it doesn't silt up, and it has a sump in it that allows us to clean that out. And we do have access points from our interior roadways to get to the detention pond so that we can maintain it. And that would be part of what the HOA dues would pay for the subdivision, is to maintain that detention pond in a scenic and functioning manner. But yeah, if you want to drive by our Adler Estates, you'll see a detention pond that works very, very well and is well maintained.
With respect to the sidewalks, I saw you, typically it's have sidewalks on both sides of your street. Your typical detail shows only one sidewalk on one side of the street, which appears to be only on the inside of the loop road that I call the loop road. And I think there should be sidewalks on both sides to accommodate.
I disagree, but we can disagree. Especially since it's a PUD, we have a little flexibility in design. What I found in most of the subdivision I live in, I used to live in Waterford subdivision, nobody used the sidewalks. they walk on the streets. I currently live in Apple Creek subdivision. We don't have sidewalks at all, period. No sidewalks. People walk in the same street just like they do in Waterford, except we didn't have to go to the expense of putting in city sidewalks, and then the homeowners have to maintain those city sidewalks, and the homeowners have to shovel those city sidewalks. So I don't really get the pushback from our customers that they want sidewalks. Most prefer not to have them.
I guess, do you have any consideration for a pathway or anything into some of the general area that you're preserving so that people would want to venture down into that area?
If you look at the cul-de-sac, there's a huge space there that is wide open so that people can have access to it. People could stand up on the cul-de-sac if they chose and look into the natural area, or they could walk through there. I have been in discussions with Dan Althouse about what we could do legally, because currently Dan's doing a really nice job of maintaining walkways through there. I think he's probably a little frustrated, maybe more than other people in the neighborhood, with the ATVs and the guys on motorcycles, because he's got the old cart paths blocked off so that they don't travel across those. I've talked to Dan about removing those as we get into construction so that we don't have as many access points for people to get back there, so that, you know, if we work out a plan for some type of conservation back there, that way it would give him more control over access to that site.
And I guess my last question is just, I know that it's probably a question that's come before, or a lot of people are thinking about, is you mentioned during the narrative the affordable housing. Could you explain the difference of the types of housing you're proposing to build there, and the price ranges and size ranges and the like?
Yeah, can I come up again to the map? You can hear me from here?
Yeah.
So we've kind of got a 3 price point concept here. When we look at the houses coming in and around here, they're based on a 60-foot wide lot, which is a little bit denser. So a 45-foot envelope like we see in a lot of the Adlers and stuff like that. And then when we get into the middle section here, those are based on an 80-foot lot. So we have a little bit bigger envelope in there, so that now we're looking at like traditional family subdivisions like Silo Meadows and Waterford. And when we get to the back street here, we're looking at, again, a larger envelope. So we're looking at home sites like more like what we have in Apple Creek. So, I mean, prices are fluid, but right now I'd say our affordable homes are going to be $400,000 up front. Our move-up homes are probably going to be $600,000 to $700,000 in the middle. And then our executive level homes will be 8, 9, maybe $1 million in the back. So it'll be a multiple price points throughout that subdivision. And I know a lot of people will sit and say, well, geez, that's not affordable. But when we move somebody into here and they sell their house in a different Bedford subdivision, now we're opening up a house that might be selling for $250,000 to $300,000. That house is now available for a new resident to Bedford Township, or a resident in Bedford that's lived here his whole life and now can move into home ownership. So I know a lot of people will say, well, gosh, $1 million home doesn't do anything for affordability. But it's the caterpillar effect. Everybody's going to get a chance to move up, and that's going to make a home in the $280,000 to $250,000 somewhere price range available to somebody else to buy in Bedford Township. So in my opinion, this will create more affordable housing, and it's not apartments.
Those are my comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Greeley, you mentioned the executive level houses in the back of the property near the floodplain. Is there going to be a requirement to develop those like close to the street frontage, or can they be built? Because they're kind of deep properties. Are they going to have to be built?
So all of the ones that are going to be on the ravine are going to have a walkout basement. That's the only way our grading plan is going to work. You're not going to be able to grade the whole house up. And if you look closely at the plan, because it's a PUD, each house will have an envelope that it has to fit in. So it has to fit inside of that envelope. It can't be beyond the envelope. It can't be in front of it. It can't be wider than the envelope. It has to fit into that envelope. But those will all really be walkout basements on there, so that otherwise the grading plan doesn't work.
Gotcha. Regarding common open space, I think I guess maybe a point of confusion. So this is obviously a private property. It's going to be a PUD, but the idea is that the community will be welcome to come and use those open spaces, not just residents of the PUD.
Well, that's something that I've had discussions with Dan Althouse about. In my opinion, no, I don't want the wider community here. It's gonna be somebody's backyard, and nobody in Centennial would like it if people just started walking through their backyard. So, I mean, we have to have a little bit of realization. Dan has done a lot of nice things back there with the walking trails and his preserve area, and I have no problem working with Dan on what can and cannot be done back there. But as a general rule, I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to want everyone from Bedford Township coming onto that cul-de-sac and walking back there. That's going to really be for the private use of people that live in the subdivision and people that adjoin the subdivision, per my conversation with Dan.
Okay, that was more what I was getting at, is like the folks in Centennial and adjacent, not so much like residents of the township coming and parking and, yeah, creating more of a traffic burden.
Correct.
Obviously on the township. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of comments on that. I know right now there's no HOA bylaws submitted with the plan here, but maybe if you can talk about some of your concepts or thoughts with regards to what the HOA bylaws, since there is 34% of the property is in fact going to be preserve area. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts or comments on what that might look like.
Yeah, so our thought process is we're going to have it a lot like what you see in the Apple Creek subdivision, where people will still have all of the benefits of a traditional subdivision. You can have swimming pools, you can have fences, you're going to take care of your own yard, you're going to have your own irrigation system if you choose. All those things will be up to the customer to choose when they build or buy a house. What the deed restrictions are going to be more dedicated to is maintenance of the common areas. So that would be the common area in the rear, the detention pond, the roads, and the storm drainage system. It's not going to be, like a 55 and older community where we take care of the yard, we take care of the roads, we take care of all that. It's really going to be laser focused on the things that require maintenance. But we're going to give our customers a lot of choice. They can have a pool, they can have a fence, they can have a small shed if they choose.
Mr. Greeley, just some clarification. You said your starter homes with the 60-foot lots are going to be $400K. In the back was $800 to $1 million, correct? And what was your middle price point?
Probably about $600,000-$700,000.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that. Prices are pretty volatile.
That's my business, so I understand more than you know.
Anybody else have any comments for Mr. Greeley?
I don't know if it's for Mr. Greeley or not. With the traffic study, Jody, you had said, like you were talking about the differences between the roads. Would that, or Mr. Bushman maybe as well, would the road commission's study take into consideration the amount of homes? Are they just saying your acceleration, deceleration lanes, or are they going to say here, this area, this road can only handle 50 homes like this? Are they going to give you any sort of feedback like that for a traffic study? That can be for anybody.
Well, I was going to say Barry wants to answer as a commission member, but they're going to look at the traffic in and out of the subdivision for the number of homes, and that's going to impact the road. So it's going to be what they have to design the entrance as for the impact of the number of vehicles. I think it goes per day at the peak hours. They show it at the evening peak hours and in the traffic study. Barry might be able to speak. I know he's more familiar with the traffic study process.
Yes, basically, Jody's pretty much right on. I mean, they look at the traffic entrance, the traffic volume at the entrance, the volume coming in and out of the subdivision with respect to the through traffic on Smith Road.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chart they use, which is included in there, which determines the amount of additional laneage required, the decel, the bypass, et cetera, right at the entrance. They do not take into consideration to say, okay, Smith Road can tolerate 50 or 75 more homes. I mean, for instance, Secor Road, which is essentially 2-lane, has substantially over 20,000 cars a day. So no, I mean, they would not restrict that. They would focus on what the entrance.
We're doing design standards for the ingress, egress, not being able to, they're not able to say this road already has this much traffic, and so you have to be, what you've already said, you were started at over 100 and moved down to 70, but like, that they're not going to say, here in this area, only 50 homes would be able, we're not getting that whether you had approval or disapproval on a traffic study. You're never going to get that, correct? Correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Which isn't necessarily helpful. My other question was concerning the Eagle's Nest. I don't know anything about any of this. This was additional information. Maybe you can go back to that where it shows the 330 and the 660. I don't know if I understood. What are the rules for the 330 or the 660? Because it seems to me at least a few units would be within those radii. But I don't know what the rules are with any of that. I hadn't seen that until tonight.
Yeah, I can read out loud what we have from our engineer.
Okay.
He has a guy that just recently worked with Eagle on another Eagle's Nest.
No pun intended.
So, and this is basically, I'm just going to read word for word just so you can put it in the record. If they keep all project activity, road building, permanent structures, staging equipment, digging operations, etc., more than 330 feet from the nest, then I am not going to recommend applying for a disturbance take permit. I am attaching a document that contains avoidance and minimization recommendations that can help limit the impacts on a nest. Not all of them will be applicable to your situation, but many of them should be helpful. In the future, if it becomes necessary to change operations or move things within 330 feet of the nest, you can reach out at that time and we will go over the nature of those changes and if a permit may be recommended at that time. So that was a quote from one of their other jobs from Eagle.
Okay.
So if you look at those circles that we have there, don't look at the subdivision plan. That was a very preliminary plan. Somebody might look at that and see that we have an attachment to Karis book. This was very early in our planning. You can see with the 330-foot Eagle's Nest, we're not even touching what would be a building envelope. If we get to 660 feet, we just barely touch our cul-de-sac where it is currently located. So we're going to have very little impacts on, about the only thing that I could say would be an impact to the Eagles, sorry Dan, is if we pull out that bridge, because that bridge is within the 330-foot radius of the Eagle's Nest. And we did do a very accurate reading to get that Eagle's Nest location. We had a surveyor that is also a marksman, has a 1,000-meter rangefinder. He went out there with 2 known points, and used his rangefinder to locate that eagle's nest within 1 foot accuracy. So I'm very comfortable with the radius that he's drawn in there. And you can see that current radius actually includes a house in Centennial when you're in the 330, and then it includes like 4 houses when you're in the 660.
So maybe just another way to clarify it, Mr. Greeley, the information you received from your engineer that was passed along from Eagle defines 330 as the buffer. The 660 that's shown on this figure is just for emphasis?
Yes,
Okay.
just for emphasis.
All right. Thank you.
There are 2 specific permitting, they call them take permits for eagles, and they're rated at 660 and 330. So that's why we included both circles in there.
Any other comments or thoughts or discussion? Maybe just some commentary. Looking at the proposed plan, I know there was a lot of stated concern about the wildlife. I do appreciate you breaking it down for us and speaking to the floodway, speaking to the Eagle's Nest buffer. And there is a lot of undeveloped space that you call out as area to be preserved in a natural state, which I think is good, and it does acknowledge what some of the citizens here have said today. For me, I think the bigger issue is that traffic. That was stated, I think almost every comment had something to do with traffic at the entrance and exit along Smith. It is a mess around there, and we just, in our last meeting, we just went back and forth about a development along Stearns Road or a curb cut along Stearns Road and the traffic study, whether the traffic at Stearns could support a development that was, I can't remember if it was about this, it was a little bigger, I think, more units. It was a plat review. But that's going to be, I think, the point of contention for me, I guess. Just wanted to put that out there for the commission.
I would agree. I mean, you've got 1 point of ingress egress for 70-something homes. If you have, I don't know how many people in here have seen a house fire or something, but if you have a house fire at one of these houses in the beginning, nobody's going to have access to their home at all because you're going to have engines blocking the entire street. Not to mention the in and out of, you're getting in and out of the subdivision is going to be a hassle. I've driven down there. I've parked, or I've come off of Hickory Hill and tried to turn. And I sat there for, I think, 13 minutes one day trying to turn left. So I can understand a few of the concerns.
I guess I'll add to that. I live at Smith and Douglas, so I've lived there my whole life, almost 40 years. I've seen all the accidents, so I totally hear that. And I guess I want to touch on the nature preserve. I know we can't require anything, but I would like to see something more restrictive going forward, you know, whether it's a restrictive conservation easement or some sort of deed restrictions on that property just to ensure that it does stay in that state. Then I guess maybe you can tell us what your thoughts are on fencing, screening along the property line. I know there were some concerns from residents in the adjacent neighborhoods of what that looks like in the future. Are you going to landscape it? Are there going to be fences? You know, what does that look like potentially, or have you given any thought to that?
Yes, so we're going to eventually pull down that chain link fence. I don't think it's attractive to our potential customers. I know the homeowners have probably become accustomed to it, but it's not being maintained, so that's going to get pulled down. And then we will allow our customers, if they choose to put a fence, to put fencing up. It won't go all the way to the back because we have that strip that's going to be open space, so they would be able to fence inside of that open space, and that spacing would remain in an open state.
Could you explain that in a little bit more detail so the audience understands that open space?
Sure. So there's open space in the back here, across here, and across here. They will not be able to fence that, and that'll just remain open. So when people put a pool or something in there, they will be fencing within or outside of that common open space. Just like the people back here would not be able to fence, you know, put a fence in out into this common open space. That's going to remain open.
Now, one question I have is if people are putting fences there in their backyards, is there going to be a requirement that all that fencing material has to be continuous all the way down, same material?
No, we'll allow people to make their own choice. We don't like to dictate to our customers. I know everybody sits there and says everybody has to have a split rail fence. Somebody might want, you know, a board-on-board privacy fence. The township has regulations in place to regulate fences. We will default to the township regulations for fencing.
Jody, do you want to speak to
And if
that?
I could just clarify a little bit on that concept, talking about the fences, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. When Mr. Greeley talks about fencing it in, this is common open space. By plan unit development, the project is required to have a minimum 30% open space to be able to develop as a PUD. So the property owner, say you purchase this, you only purchase this unit. So if this property owner wanted to put a fence up, it would have to be within their unit. This is all property that will be owned by the entire project, if that gives us some clarification. So this area in between is called limited common area, that most likely that will be left open space. They would not be able to fence this area in around these units. Only the home and their use can go within this unit. So you will not see anything owned by a property owner in any of this area that's considered open space. If that gives some clarification of fencing, pools, the home, all of that. So when you look up close, you can see when it spoke how these units are much smaller in width, where you get larger here and then much larger to the back. So those would be, in this area would be the area of a building envelope. This would be a building envelope. And then of course, then these ones are much smaller. If that provides some clarification. But the open space requirement is required by ordinance of 30%.
So what's depicted here, you're referring to units, you said building envelope. These lots or are these?
They are units.
Not lots,
building
but they're,
units for a condominium.
but that's the property. That's not necessarily the extent of the building envelope that's reflected on the plans, correct?
That is what, if you buy within this development, you would only purchase the building envelope, and your home and everything would have to be within.
It's in it.
It's a unit.
That's your yard.
It's not, it's the side yard of your, is all within that. It's, when you own in a subdivision, you own the entire lot. You own from the meets and bounds. In a building envelope, you will just own the unit that your home is built with on, that size of unit. I think this one is going to be, one is 90 by, this one's like 90 by 121 by 90 by 160, it looks like maybe. That's what you would own. Everything else around you is all common area, whether it's limited common space, and in the deed, in the condominium documents and in the master deed, once it's defined, this area that's defined as common space will be defined as common space. If that gives some clarification on fencing.
I think even once we get to the master plan, the PUD, the master plan of that, it breaks out, there's going to be a meets and bounds description of the common space. So that's something, I remember somebody said, oh God, they want to know the determination of it. On the final PUD, it is surveyed and meets and bounds surveyed of exactly what is the common open space.
And maybe to address one of Kyle's comments about potential conservation easement for some of your undeveloped portion of the property. My understanding with the PUD, if you were to change or modify or want to modify the PUD, you'd have to come back to us for approval. You couldn't just revoke what you currently call out as area to be preserved in a natural state. You have to come back for approval to do so.
It's actually even worse than that.
Yeah.
Not only do we have to get your approval, we would have to have 2/3 of the population of the subdivision also agree to come back and change the nature of that area. that's, I mean, you're not going to get 2/3 consent to do anything anywhere. So once it's memorialized in the final PUD documents, realistically changing it is a non-starter.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that maybe for the public, just in case anyone does have the worry that what's shown here now actually ends up getting blown away in 10 years and more houses get built.
And there might be, if while we're here, if we have free legal advice paid for by the citizens of Bedford Township. I mentioned this to Dan that, you know, maybe he could bring it up or I'll bring it up. Are we allowed to do anything in that open space? Dan has some really great ideas, you know, to bring the public through his property and, you know, view that area and use that area, you know, for a multitude of really nice things. Can we join with Dan and allow him access to that via the PUD agreement?
First of all, my question would be whether Dan is a unit owner in the development.
He is not.
And so that would have to be probably a easement given to him for access over the development lands. And also the township would have to approve the PUD agreement, which would set forth those types of details. And on your subdivision plans, which is the condominium plans, you would have to set forth those types of access easements for people not involved in the project.
Okay.
So when people are buying into it, they already understand that that's the case and that there's other people involved in use of that property. So like you say, it would be difficult to change it later. But it should be established right up front. And if it's personal to a person, then it's not in perpetuity. So that's another issue.
Okay.
Is there, Marty, I mean, so without explicitly stating who would have those provisions outside of the PUD, could you make more broad statements about residents within some radii of the unit would have access to common spaces? I guess what I'm hearing is it's going to kind of be hard to accommodate that in writing in the PUD. It might just be more like
I don't know how that would be workable without defining who that is, and as people come and go, and I would think that would be detrimental to the condominium development.
Did you have something, Jake?
Kind of. I think I think the PUD is a smart use of the property, especially since it already plans in there that you've got to have a minimum of 30% of the property preserved, right? So ultimately, you're getting what you need for that. I don't know what else you would put in this property, right? I think this makes sense for the space. It's not taking the whole thing up. The traffic is a concern. The traffic is a concern all over Bedford Township. I don't think that goes without saying. My main concern, I think, with overall the property, I kind of talked about this earlier, is really having those HOA bylaws a little bit more defined, because it is a bit of a touchy subject. Having a little bit more thought on paper would be something I think would be good to see, so we at least have some concepts, some ideas, and start figuring out what we're approving with regards to those bylaws and the maintenance standards for that back piece of property, because there is a lot of concern and consideration that goes in there for wildlife and also the overall enjoyment of the property. But that's my thoughts right now at this point on the overall project.
Do you have any suggestions for Mr. Greeley as to what that language should include? Just so it's clear, I guess, what we're asking?
I wish I did. I don't. I mean, there's been some good discussion with regards to what people would like to see with regards to how it's maintained and how it's used. I think just having this here is going to reduce a lot of the issues some of the neighbors have already addressed, like with ATVs, et cetera. But I think there's got to be something along the lines of how that 30% is supposed to be enjoyed by the folks that live in the neighborhood.
Who maintains the common area?
The HOA.
The HOA?
Yeah, so typically, if you would look at like the common space behind each home, that homeowner would just mow that.
Okay.
But then when you're dealing with the detention pond, the HOA would maintain that because it's more than just mowing. There's drainage involved in there and there's maintenance on the overflow device, so the HOA has to maintain that. And then with the natural area out back, I would probably be looking at a partnership with Dan because he's already done such a fantastic job maintaining trails for walking and viewing the wildlife that we'd work Dan into that somehow because I like free labor. And he's done a great job of it so far, so why would I change something that's working well?
Maybe I'll go back and state the provisions you've got for preservation of that back half of the property I think are good, and I think they do answer some of the concerns. I like your interest in keeping Dan involved. Dan, thanks for your interest in that area back there. I think it's awesome what you're doing. I want to go back to the traffic. So the scope of the traffic study being the entry and exit from the property. The scope doesn't necessarily include the intersection at Smith and Summerfield or the intersection at Hickory Hill and Summerfield. I guess I'm trying to determine if there's a means of like considering those things. Also, I guess I should state the entrance of Centennial Drive to Smith Road. I'm trying to work through in my mind if there's like a means for which those could be accounted for, because I think on paper, like 71 units in and out on Smith Road, you probably, like, it's probably sufficient if it's not considering all those other intersections, which it sounds like that might be the case with these traffic studies. I don't know, Barry, if I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. If all that's being looked at is the intersection of what's defined as Madden Drive, the entry to this PUD, and Smith Road, and not considering the other intersections on the street and traffic at those intersections, that could be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, they'll look at some of the adjacent roadways and that sort of thing. This is a challenge at this location, certainly, and certainly suggest that they do take into some of those issues into consideration as they go forward. But primarily, they're going to look at how they handle the traffic volumes on Smith Road with respect to the entranceway and the associated bypass traffic and the like. So, you know, certainly Summerfield and the adjacent intersections do come into play with some of that.
Barry, because I'm not an engineer and I know you are, how far of a lens do they use when they do that traffic study? Is it a half mile on each side of the subdivision? I know there's standards in place.
It varies depending on the development and what's in the area.
Okay. So that might be what they've discussed, because we did have a very in-depth traffic study done. I can't speak to it because I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
But you're well within your, and what I would obviously be looking for is an approval subject to the traffic study being acceptable to all of the other entities like the Drain Commission and the Fire Department and Bedford Township's engineer being satisfied, because they are all going to take a look at this multiple times. It's not like after tonight with a yes vote, there's no more comments, because once you guys make a recommendation to the township board's going to look at it just like you did tonight. And then we have to go back to every entity that is in Bedford Township, being the Fire Department, the Road Commission, the Drain Commission, and the Bedford Township engineer, and have them review the plans again, make sure they meet all of the ordinances of Bedford Township, and then they will approve them, and it will come back to you again, and then back to the township board again. So it's not like this is your last time to look at this project. It's your first time to look at this project.
Does anyone else have any comments, thoughts, or considerations that they want to share? If not, looking for a motion?
I'll say a couple things. I don't have a motion for you, but I'll say a couple things. First, I'll say to all the residents that came out tonight how much I appreciate everyone's comments. Because they were majoritively legitimate. They're not what I expected, which happens all the time, is, well, I don't want that. I want to be able to look at the grass, or I want to be able to look at whatever. I don't want something there, and that's not what it was. There's a lot of more legitimate concerns, namely, I would say, the traffic, which leads, I don't know if there's anyone on this board currently that's not thinking the same thing, and it doesn't sound like there's any, you're not going to be getting anything from the road commission where we're going to be getting a traffic study that's going to be actually addressing the real concern, which isn't the turning radius in and out of the development as opposed to the total amount of traffic on Smith Road. I also don't know, because I would say everything else, normally what we're, like the things that we're looking at initially in this initial meeting, the development in and of itself seems great. And there's not, Barry didn't have a laundry list of things for you to fix, and that type of thing where we're going, you need to redo this. The development in and of itself seems very good and thought out and planned out well, and consideration for the surrounding land and all of that. But I don't know if anything addresses the traffic. And I don't know if this board or the next board is even, if that is an allowable reasoning to deny the applicant. I don't know that either.
I hear where you're coming from, because I'm thinking the same thing, right? I agree with you, this is a well thought out plan, and typically if it's not, Barry will pick it apart. And the traffic is a concern on Smith Road. Now, the trouble is, Mr. Greeley has done everything possible within the means of what he can control with regards to develop it to control it. And going out and getting traffic studies, doing what is necessary to go forward. You can't address years of development on Smith Road with one planned unit development. That's my concern too. That's the sticky point I have.
I know that last meeting we had some concerns about results of a traffic study, and the applicant ended up pulling the request so that we could await the results of the traffic study. So should we proceed with approving this preliminary plan, it's going to go to the township board, and Craig, at that point, you as a board would have to weigh in on the results of the traffic study because we don't have them in hand.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you're going to get those answers. That's what my question has been. I don't think a traffic study is going to address the actual concern. The traffic study is going to say you need to have a...
You can turn left in here, great.
Yes, you could turn left in here. Not, hey, there's too many, Smith Road cannot handle this many homes, this much traffic coming in and out of here on top of Cheltenham and Smith and Summerfield and et cetera. I don't think that answer is coming from the road commission. So I don't know that solves anything. There's nothing to wait on as far as I'm understanding.
Yeah, and it sounds like what's been stated, Jody, just maybe 1 minute, but the lens through which the road commission reviews is maybe unclear. I think that's the question. Are they looking at all the adjacent side streets or just this street? Is that?
I don't know. I think it is clear. I think that they're not.
They're not, yeah.
I think they're not.
I don't know if we can ask that or request that they give us more information.
Jody, go ahead.
I will say with the traffic study, they're going to get the input of, like I said, the peak hours in the morning and the afternoon. The developer is going to have to do whatever they tell him to do. If they tell him he needs a turn lane, they are not going to approve the project when it comes back without a turn lane. If they say he has to increase it, he's going to have to increase it. Or he's going to have to continue to work with the road commission on what is going to be required to make it a safe ingress egress to the property. He's not going to be able to get around getting approval from you on a final PUD plan unless he has approval from the road commission. So I think that that's where the traffic study is looking at the car count for in and out of the subdivision in a certain area, but whatever the determination is from that traffic study and the design, the developer is going to have to provide that on the plan when it comes back to you for the road commission to review for the next time it comes back.
Well, and I think that's where we're hung up, and Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's great. We've got an acceleration lane, a deceleration, a left turn lane. You can get in and out of the place, but can you get down Smith Road to the next intersection safely, or can residents get out of their driveway safely at that point because of what happened at that intersection?
And are they going to take into account the other intersections within a 1.5-mile radius?
And I understand that, but remember, the township is not the one that requires the traffic study. It is the road commission, and it's going to be their determination by the township whether what is required for the road. Township doesn't, the Smith Road, section line roads are under the jurisdiction of the Monroe County Road Commission, and the township is not the one actually even asking for the traffic study. It is the road commission.
I have a question for maybe Mr. Bushman, if I may, Mr. Montre. On a traffic study, do they measure the interval between cars?
In terms of gaps, you're talking?
Yep.
Not typically. That's more of a, looking at strictly a volume type of a study and turning movements and volume of turning movements.
My concern is we previously had the light at Jackman Road in Smith. Now that it's going to be a roundabout, there's going to be no break in that traffic anymore, so I feel the interval is going to be closer.
Well, between those two things, there's still the same light at Summerfield and Smith.
True.
That light still exists. That doesn't mean things won't change, but so what I'm thinking about from a traffic study standpoint, what I would want in my head is total traffic down Smith Road and how many more units can this area handle? That's what I would think we would be if we had a traffic study that would say, hey, everything else looks good, or maybe 70 units is completely fine, or it needs to be 55 to bring it down. Like one of the residents had said, they were doing the units that are along Smith, single family, 1 acre, whatever, like nobody's worried about that. Or if it was 30 homes, that would feel a lot less apprehensive. But you don't know, 70 might be fine, or it would need to be 50, or it would need to be 30. That's what I would want to see from a traffic study is what can this section of Smith Road bear, given the other intersections, the other ingress, egress, east and west of this intersection. That's where my head would be at, but I don't know if there is such a thing to give you an answer. I can ask Rock. Maybe I should ask Rock.
I have to imagine there is such a thing. I mean, that's why we have traffic engineers. I think
roads are designed for capacity, so.
The problem is there's a cost for such a thing, and at that point, whose burden is that to bear?
At certain points, you end up with additional laneage, like a center turn lane, like's being considered right now for Secor Road from Smith to the state line and the like, where it comes into Ohio and that sort of thing. It's, you know, just sheer volume. Then turn movements at some point, you know, you have to add laneage. And because it becomes a choke point where you can't get through. And
Which Cheltenham did. I don't know when that was, but I'm sure that there was some point when that on the south side of Smith, they've got their turn, that extra turn lane past the intersection.
Douglas and Smith never used to have a left turn lane until 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Just added for capacity.
Right, just chiming in on this, right? So I kind of go back to my original comment, right? We have to base our decision on the merits of the plan as it stands today. And Monroe County Road Commission isn't going to look at the whole traffic of that road for this individual piece of property. I think what we're alluding to are other studies, capacity studies that they're doing, similar like Mr. Bushman said with Secor Road. I don't think that answer is going to come for this particular piece of property. So I think we have to make a determination based on what's provided today. Now, whether or not we can approve today or not, I think that's up to us to decide, but I'll just be remiss if we're going to get that traffic study that gives us that silver bullet and tells us exactly this is good or not good.
Mm-hmm.
If that's something that we want to see, though, like, we'd have to state it now, because if we're weighing in on what happens today and we're not looking at the bigger picture, then we're going to see the same plan at final plan approval, too. It'll just never get addressed. And there's a clear concern.
I hear you, and I also think, you know, other properties that were developed in the township weren't held to those standards either, though. So it's kind of, it's troublesome to ask this particular applicant for that particular study, right? I understand it would help tremendously in understanding where we're at here, but I'm just going to be realistic. I don't think we're going to get that.
Craig, is there a means through the board that we could, I don't even know if the board has line of communication with the road commission like that, to where we could, like, find, even unrelated to this circumstance, but if there's problem areas in the township, from a traffic perspective, does the board have a means to initiate studies with the road commission, a request?
I would think if we did something like that, we wouldn't use the road commission. We did we partnered with Whiteford, however many months ago, and did a full study of Stearns Road. From, like, Whiteford did their section from 23 around and then into, we just got that back not that long ago. But there was another company that we didn't have the road commission do that. That was a separate company that did that we footed the bill to get that information, basically.
Is there anything else in the works like that in the township right now?
Not
I think,
I guess
what I'm getting at is Bedford continues to grow, homes continue to be built, there's a demand. People want to live in Bedford. We should not impede development if people want to live in Bedford. However, that's a township.
You got to provide infrastructure.
We have to provide the infrastructure. So that's not the impetus.
Which is also not the township. It's the county. County is
we don't
does
own
all
any
of that.
roads.
So it's like
that's what I'm getting at, is the township scrutinizing the county's level of interest in some of these issues. Are we going to outside parties to?
For that type of thing, you're going outside. You're going third party to do what you're talking about. If I'm understanding your question, like we have, if you're saying like influence in, hey, this is what we want you to do, or this is where an area that we were looking into. I'll tell you, I had at our last meeting, I had the supervisor reach out to the road commission for the study. Said, hey, this study might be coming in. If you want to can you make a call and see if they can review that so we can get that back at our next meeting or whatever? And I had talked, which he did, and it was like a week later I talked to him, hey, you ever hear back? No, I still haven't heard back from them. So if that tells you, they've got a lot on their plate, the road commission that is, and everybody vying for money and resources. I mean, that's what these other projects, that's why they're going state level, some federal level, to try to get funding and resources to be able to, whether you're going to expand Secor Road, and that's what I would say this section, unfortunately, is a lower priority as far as the township goes and the county goes. Being able to do Stearns Road and Secor Road are way higher up on the priority level as far as trying to grasp at all these resources. So, unfortunately, because everybody's looking for something, and there's a lot of issues. Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know if that's what you're asking is, should we try to have some sort of study done? And then, like you said, is that our requirement? Are we able to give that requirement for a pending approval to be able to? We need to have outsource some company to do a study to say what are you going to do if they say you're already above capacity? There's no more homes could be built. I don't know.
Maybe Marty could weigh in.
Yeah, I guess, my angle is, as a township, we have to look out for the interests of our residents and our business owners. And in this case, we're kind of caught a little bit in the crosshairs between both. It's really a road commission issue as of now. But if the township wanted to dedicate resources to something specific for this area and probably 4 others I could name, just, I guess, for future initiatives that you could take to the board if that seems like something we should be pursuing. Because ultimately, we could see a request like this and the road commission provide comments that are very specific and don't look at the big picture. That doesn't necessarily serve the township the way we need it to. So,
or the citizens, for that matter.
right. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at. So we got to look out for the citizens and the developers. We can't cause practical difficulty for Greeley or any other builders because they do own this piece of property.
Their property.
And they do have a right to develop it to some degree. Obviously, with PUD, there's a lot of stipulations that we can place, but we also owe it to the citizens to make sure that if this property does get built, that it can be cohesive and that it can flourish and that both parties benefit, not just one, not just the other. It's not combative, but it's cohesive. And so I'm hoping that the results of the traffic study will just answer all those questions. Not super hopeful based on what's being discussed.
Put it in perspective, I mean, Smith Road is a very unique road. I live right off Smith Road, so I experienced all that traffic too. And, but, based on the preliminary traffic study, the PM peak left turn movements into this site would be 26 vehicles during the PM peak hour. That kind of dwarfs in terms of the volume of traffic coming out of Ohio, using this in terms of an alternate for Alexis Road, when you think of the volume. But they're talking about a 26, based on the studies and the warrants and the guidelines through ITE, 26 vehicles left turn movement during the PM, just the PM peak hour coming into the site, which did warrant the extra laneage requirement.
Sorry, can you say that again? Like, what would be considered the PM peak hour?
When people are, the hour in which the highest volume of people coming home and going to their homes and left turn movements into the site.
Is there also, and I'm naive on the topic, right? But is there also like an AM peak as well?
There is,
Okay. And
which would be the people typically, leaving.
probably the same number, 26.
Not necessarily.
Be leaving, not going, coming back.
Yeah.
And that's left turns only.
This would be left turn movement in to the site, which
Westbound.
determines some of the guidelines in terms of a laneage requirement for that coming into the site.
Does anyone want to make a motion on this one?
So this is saying, yeah, and that's to Barry's point. Even as is what we have, they're saying you would have to have a left turn lane added. Correct?
Preliminary, yes.
So that would be a center lane.
An additional lane to make sure, correct.
Sorry, I may have missed it. Is that what it said? There would be a left-hand turn lane?
That was my understanding when I read
Preliminary
this
notes,
comment
yeah.
earlier too. Is Monroe County Road Commission used this chart to determine left-hand turn treatments. The PM peak volume for the site was used in review analysis versus 24-hour volume, as the chart indicates. Information from our review can be seen below. Based on this, a dedicated left turn lane will be required. Please revise the plans accordingly. Whereas I'd say, for example, further down Smith, you just have that passing flare.
Right.
Like towards Lewis and Smith, it's just a passing flare.
So what we're talking about, if I'm being simplified with what I'm hearing here, is we're talking about 26 cars that will be addressed with a left-hand turn lane as a part of the development. Am I hearing that right?
I think that's just the peak volume is what they're looking at. So, I mean, you still have your overall trip movements, which this study doesn't talk about like the last one. Maybe they didn't have any concerns with it. I know the last study of the Road Commission looked at, they were concerned about the actual trip generation volume, the number of vehicles that was used. Because you don't look at 70 units and say it's 70 cars from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. There's factors and formulas they put together to figure out exactly the number of movements they're going to be. And they had concerns in the last study about that. This one, they didn't seem to raise that same question.
Hey, Jody.
If I may, just because there has been referral to the last, reference to the last project, keep in mind the last project was several plats going to be. This is one single phase project, all 71 homes. The last one had, I think, 5 plats or 6 plats expanding out through, I think we said 30 before it was connected, and there was going to be 105 multifamily apartments. So keep in mind, different type of traffic study being required, and a different intersection of Stearns and Lewis Avenue closer to the intersection. Just for clarification, for reference of that project, because it has been brought up a couple times.
Thanks, Jody. That's a good point. Anyone have anything else? As it relates to traffic or anything else? If not, looking for a motion.
I'll put myself in, no, you don't get excited. I'm putting myself in liaison mode, so I'm gonna defer to the rest of the board for that.
Nice.
I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
But you're voting liaison on this board.
Yeah.
Not like the park board where they don't get to vote.
He's just trying to get out of it. Sure, Marty?
If I could just add some information maybe to help you make a motion. The ordinance requires the Township Planning Commission, this body, to make a recommendation. It's not approval. It's merely a recommendation of approval of the plan as submitted, approval of the plan with suggested modifications, or a recommendation of denial of the plan. So those are your options for consideration.
Thank you, Marty. With that clarification from Marty, still looking for a motion?
Which goes back to what I was saying earlier. That's what, the only recommendation that I could think of is if you needed to shrink the number of units down based off of Smith Road traffic. But if, you can't make that recommendation. You don't know what to tell them. You have no idea what to tell them, what that number should be. Because it might be 70, it might be 30.
Might be 2.
Might be 2.
And it doesn't sound like we will have that information. So we do, as a commission, owe it to the applicant and people to make it a preliminary decision. This will go to the board, and this will come back through all the proper channels.
It will come back to you, and with all my comments in there, the applicant will have to have the comments that are already provided by the reviewing agencies need to be included in any recommendation, and that the PUD agreement and necessary condominium documents be submitted for the township attorney. Street lighting assessment district. I believe sometimes this developer puts in solar. I'm not sure what the plan is for this project. Some renderings of what the buildings may look like, and if he's planning on any landscaping or buffering. You can also possibly include that there be a narrative of the conservation area be provided on the title page when it comes back of what that conservation area is going to be designed as.
That was the one thing I was going to add, is if you wanted to have something like that in there.
And I think
The conservation area.
Manick and Smith comments, their checklist, I think, section, they're looking for that narrative for natural features, public water, public sewer, drainage, and schools be included and listed as a part of that.
Anyone want to venture to make a motion? Motion can be any of what Marty had stated. Conditions can be placed if the commission sees fit.
I can address one of the residents' questions if this was written in stone. One of the residents asked if this was written in stone already, and the answer would be no.
Yeah, and this is just the first time we're going to look at this.
All right, to get this off dead center, kick it down the road, I will make a motion based on the applicant complying with the ordinance requirements and the like, and subject to all the approval letters required from the road commission, the drain commission, Eagle, and any other fire, police, and any other agency required to do this. I'll make a motion to recommend to the township board that this be approved, and then the other requirements that the planning commission would like to make with respect to the easement requirements. I'm receptive to any other requirements. Oh, I am sorry. Sorry about that. Do you want me to do that all over again?
That's all right, we heard you.
All right, good.
All right, just a friendly amendment. The applicant shall prepare a PUD agreement, and all the necessary condominium documents shall be submitted and approved by the township attorney. Special assessment district for street lighting shall be entered into between the township and the developer. All color scheme, building materials, and building rendering shall be submitted, and a landscape and buffering plan shall be submitted. It also should be noted that the condominium association shall be established. So also add that we'll need to see some defined bylaws for the maintenance of the common areas within the PUD.
Was that your support?
That would be my support.
Mr. Bushman, do you agree with the amendment by?
Yes, I do.
And just to clarify, Mr. Lake, so it's clear for the applicant, should this go through, you're asking for draft bylaw language the next time this comes around?
Absolutely, yes.
As it relates specifically to the natural area on the back of the property?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, Mr. Trombley, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bushman?
Yes.
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Tremblay is no. Mr. Andrews?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Greeley. Appreciate your time. Jody?
Just in case any of the public wants to leave, this will go before the township board. I'm going to request it to be on the agenda for the August 18th meeting because the first meeting of the township board has been canceled due to the election. Just wanted to make that in case any of the public wants to attend that meeting. It's township board meeting Tuesday night, August 18th, here at the Township Hall at 7. The agenda will be posted on their website and downstairs in the hallway.
Jody, will there be a public hearing for that as well, or that would
It's
just
not a
be
public
public
hearing.
comment
It's
for
just
any,
public
for any
comment
statement?
time.
Okay.
It will be an item on the agenda, and then you would speak at public comment time at that meeting. The next time it comes back to the Planning Commission, though, for the final PUD and the rezoning process to the PUD, if you would like to see any of that information beforehand, please come to the Planning Department, second floor, second window. Otherwise, that will be another public hearing. So you all be notified of that meeting as well. And then that process will then also go back to the Township Board after that.
After
When
final.
all the items have been addressed that were discussed tonight.
Thank you.
What she's saying is it's not a done deal. That's,
3 or 4 more meetings.
there's a lot, yeah.
Long way to go.
So we're going to continue with our meeting with item 8A. If anyone from the public wants to leave, you're welcome to.
I make a motion.
Sure, what's your motion?
That we adjust the agenda and postpone item 8A for the next meeting. I know this is one of your topics, but we're almost at time.
Yeah,
I know it is.
I'm going to speak to it, but yeah, let's keep it brief. Yeah, we're going to continue with our meeting, so if you could. Please. All right, moving on to item 8, old business, 8A, discussion of the capital improvements plan.
Okay, well, I'll start real quick before you go any farther because
Please do.
I have some information. I know I forwarded, or Grant had sent some information regarding the CIP. And I have spoke with Mr. Miller, the finance manager, and they did allocate $400,000 within the budget from the Township Board for the fiscal year of this 2027. If we would like to discuss that at this meeting, since it's already almost 10 o'clock, we can move that forward, but you will have to, I figured it was too much to put into an email and have everyone try to figure out what I was trying to say, but that money has been allocated within the budget. However, it has not been allocated within the CIP where that funding is going. So that is your job to do. We have $400,000 that we need to allocate. And if you look on the spreadsheet, you will see allocated for FY 2027 and nothing there. But we do have $400,000 that we will need to have some allocation to those items from those fiscal year. We are now looking at fiscal year of 2028 to go before the board for next year's budget, which will be the discussion. I did speak with Mr. Miller to simplify maybe the process. Planning Commission, we looked into it, can allocate a representative to do the work for the CIP. Mr. Miller could take on getting the information from the elected officials for the department heads and meet with the Park Commission members, and then he can come to the commission, or we can request them to come and then have a finance actual allocation that we're looking for each year, instead of just trying to pull the money out from somewhere and then asking the Township Board to approve it in the budget. Township Board is not going to approve the CIP unless we change the language. Financing is approved by you through the allocation. Township Board approves it with the budget, if that gives clarification. So I did speak with Mr. Miller. We can work on allocating the $400,000. I can let you know. I know we are going to be at least one member and no appointment for the August 12th meeting. So if we want to reserve that meeting for only CIP discussion, I will put no other items on that agenda because, for information, we will be having a public hearing on August 26th. So I do not want to put the CIP actually back on that item agenda if all need possible. So I'm going to leave it up for discussion. We can work through what we have, but otherwise we will need to extend the meeting at least 15 more minutes. So you'll have to look for a motion for that because it is 9:53.
I don't know if there's an appetite from
Well,
the
my watch says 9:45.
I'll make.
Computers are
Yeah, the Bedford time's a little off.
This
it's not like
way
it's
early.
I've got a motion. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn item 8A, or table item 8A, and move it to the next regular meeting that does not have a public hearing attached to it.
August 12th.
August 12th it is.
we have. I know I'm out.
You're out that meeting, but
I thought someone else said they were out too the last meeting.
no,
Yeah,
that
I'll
will
be- I'll
be
be
the
gone.
no.
I'll be gone.
Oh, you're.
Yeah, I think I'll be gone. Is that the week of the 8th?
It's the one that got moved because
Yeah.
of the election.
I'll be gone.
No, that's always been the 12th. There have been one for the election. Township Board did.
I thought we moved out.
I'm off August 12th. August 12th is no good for me either. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Can I propose something? Perhaps homework? I think, if I'm not mistaken, we did a great job. I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but doing the essential, desirable, acceptable, right? If we follow those guidelines, we could all allocate that 400 based upon those guidelines. The only clarification I might ask for is when I look at allocated fiscal year 2026 budget, when we've got the, what looks like be a credit, so like that first line item, Township Hall floor, 30,000, and then it's credited or removed, right? It looks like it's removed from that allocation. Is that what that means?
Well,
I believe so because they did the flooring downstairs.
Okay, so we might have to think about this. If we remove some of these things from essential down to acceptable since they've already been addressed, and then we reassess what should be essential, desirable, and the rankings within those, then allocate the money according to that. Maybe we all make our own recommendations based upon that. That might be some information we need as to if these are finished or not. It looks like, if I'm not mistaken, anything where we've got the allocation that's in the ellipses there, that has been used, or it should be removed or put down lower on the list, if you will. Does that make sense, guys? I just want to make sure I'm clear on what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess the only caveat I'll have is the Parks had a committee of the whole meeting, I think, yesterday, and they wanted to change all these around if you watched that meeting.
I did not.
I haven't finished watching it. I started watching it this morning, but yeah, they were talking about moving some playscapes up and pushing gazebos down and changing some stuff around based on.
This a lot because most
I
of this
guess
is parks.
let me speak to the intent here, I guess, and we don't need to keep this meeting going too long. I don't think we need to extend it. The process since I've been on the commission, and it's not a bad one, but because of lack of input from different commissions and department heads at times, it becomes a bit of a mess at the beginning of a calendar year, which is really more than halfway through a fiscal year. We're already planning the next fiscal year and trying to approve, get the budgets in front of the board. So if we start talking about the CIP in the January meeting for a budget that has to be submitted to the board in March, we don't have enough time. And we can't get the park to come to our meeting to weigh in on all their items. So the idea here is that fiscal year 2027 started as of July 1st. We as a commission are obligated to update and prioritize all these assets in this plan annually. So planning for fiscal year 2028, the goal here is to start that now and not in January. If that makes sense.
Makes sense.
So that's the only intent here, and that's really all we need to cover tonight. I think we're trying to develop, I'm working with the planning department to try to develop what that looks like so we can pass it along from board to board, and especially from department head to department head, so there's a system in place, and it's very clear, hey, supervisor's department, clerk's department, maintenance, we need all of these numbers or your assessments or your rankings, your opinions by this date. And it's going to be always, let's just throw out the first meeting in September every year. That way it's very clear what's expected of all parties. Not to pick on anyone specific, but yeah, you mentioned the parks. The parks have a lot of assets on here. We have to engage the parks earlier and not weeks before we're going
And you get it, you build it into, it's a season, it's like budget season.
Right.
Or for the township board. I know springtime, it's budget season. You're doing all of that stuff. You're preparing all of that. If you're getting that into a schedule, and then, yeah, to your point, you're not scrambling. We've been talking about it. We know where we're at. Talked about it a bunch of times as opposed to in January. Because if it's January, if we had this planned and today is January, well, we just had a 3-hour meeting. We didn't even get to talk about it. And then the next meeting, half of us can't be here, so we don't even have yes, I think it's a great idea and a great plan.
So I think the idea moving forward was that we're going to request, so we as a commission will have the opportunity to look at all these items. The allocation for last year is a whole separate thing because we were going to do it and then we didn't do it because our meeting got canceled or Bob took it to the board for approval, whatever. We were supposed to have done that already, so we can do that as a commission. But ultimately, we get to look at these, we get to assess, we get to prioritize, we ask for engagement from parks, from supervisor, from clerk over the next couple months so that we don't have to have, I think the first couple meetings I was chair, we met until this time, 2 or 3 meetings back to back, and there was no public hearing. It was only CIP. You guys all gave me dirty looks, so we're going to try not to do that again.
We still love you for it, though.
That's the intent here. I think that's probably all that needs to be said unless anyone wants to weigh in. I know we got about 9 minutes left.
Yeah, the only thing I just want to be sure is, as we look through these numbers, that the numbers are in fact valid, because I know last year we were struggling with some of those issues as to how much validity do we talk about construction? Is it just materials? Is it labor? Is it
Especially with
demolition of
parks.
old? Yeah, it's holistically, do we have good numbers we're working with? And that's the bottom line. We've got to be sure that numbers are numbers, but they need to be vetted, to make sure that each of those numbers that are presented are realistic.
Yeah, and per the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, we can request that departments review and assess and, even seek outside counsel on construction costs and all of the like. And so I just want to get the jump on that now. If we're going to ask the park to assess their, 10, let's say, gazebos, just to make sure that they have the runway to do that.
Well, if you remember the trouble we had with that last year.
Oh, I remember. I remember.
Trying to get them to cooperate with us.
Yeah, so just trying to make it streamlined for us as a commission, but also for all the other departments, just to be respectful of their time and hopefully give more runway to achieve some of this stuff. Jody, did you have something else to say? You look like you had something to say.
I'll wait till after we
Okay, all right.
get to
Let's
the
keep
comments.
let's keep moving. Moving on to item 9, public comment. Anyone from the public wish to speak?
We just had
You could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Jack and Arvanitis.
say that.
I'm just going to request that, Mr. Montre, I'd really appreciate it if you'd commit to providing a summary liaison report to the board township at the next meeting on August 18th, because I do think it's hard for the public to keep up with what goes on in some of these meetings unless they come to all of them. So when people go there, for when this comes before the actual township board, if we've requested liaison reports, be routine on the township board, but they don't happen and they won't commit to them. So I would ask that you would please provide a thorough summary just for the public so they're aware of what went on here tonight. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? I think that's everyone. Moving on to item 10, information. Jody?
Yes, again, that will go to the township board on August 18th. And just so you're aware, I will address that I do provide a full packet information. I provide a summary. We provide all of the minutes from tonight. It will have public comment in there, and the plan will be in there. Anything additional that was provided to the commission tonight with the map of where the Eagle's Nest and all that was, even though it wasn't in the packet beginning, all of the information, anything that is provided to the commission is always provided in my packets to the township board. And I provide a memo summary to break it down, and then the minutes. So that is provided, and that will be at the 18th. I had Kyle, Grant, and Craig, or both, all three of you will not be.
August 12th.
That's correct.
No.
Okay, so just so you're aware, then that meeting probably will be canceled because we will already be 4 members short, so we will not have a full commission.
What's the outlook on a new commission member being appointed?
I'm not sure. I think there are only a couple applications, and I don't know if the supervisor has opportunity to look at them yet, but I will ask and get back to I will send an email to give an update.
Thank you.
So if you have any friends that want to join planning commission,
And then ahead of time, if you could let me know if you're not going to be at the August 26th meeting, because I do have a submittal for a public hearing on that date.
Thank you. Item 11, commission staff comment. Craig?
Nothing from me.
Jake?
I'll be here the 26th.
Thank you. Jacob?
Nothing from me.
Kyle?
I'll be here the 26th.
Barry?
As far as I know, I'll be here the 26th.
Good Lord willing.
Katrina? Marty?
Marty will be here on the
Jody, anything else?
You gonna be here on 26, Jody?
I think so.
Taking the night off.
As always, I enjoyed working with you guys, and I enjoyed the meeting and discussion tonight and taking everyone's input into consideration.
I'll echo what Jody said. Thanks, everybody, for your thoughtfulness on this. I know it's a hot topic, and there's still a lot to be addressed. We owe it to the public. We owe it to the developer. So looking forward to having this come back to us and see it go through the board, too. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. It's 9:56. Thank you, everyone.